Well, I think an exciting conversation is about to come to life with the Indiana Fever and KeyBank, which is presenting today's Women in Leadership panel. My name is JoJo Gentry. For those of you who don't know, I'm a sports anchor reporter at Fox 59 and CBS 4 here in Indianapolis. I'm also monitoring today's panel. First off, big thank you to Andrea Fonseca and Barb Smith with KeyBank for joining us alongside the Indiana Fever. The players we have today, Candice Dupree, Tiffany Mitchell, and Natalie Achonwa, I think all five of these women have some amazing experiences. I think some thought-provoking questions surrounding women in leadership can ignite some inspiration ahead of the Inspiring Women Game Night on September 10th. And I want to get things started off with Candice Dupree. You've been in the league for 14 years. You're a mother of twins. First of all, I'm an identical twin, so I think that's so awesome. I guess, Candice, at what point in your life did you realize that you were a leader, and how did you go about pursuing that role?
I guess when I got to Indiana, coming from Phoenix that had so many top players and playing alongside Diana Taurasi, who was, the leader of that team, and then going to Indiana where there were younger players. Tamika Catchings had just retired, and, she was their previous leader. So dealing with the knuckleheads that are my teammates, it kind of brought the leadership role out of me. I've always been a lead by example kind of player, never really said too much. And I kind of had to step outside of myself and take on that role once I got to Indy.
And I think women can feel this pressure to strive for doing it all in terms of balancing a career and family. What do you think about that phrase, and how do you find balance across your personal and professional lives?
It's definitely difficult trying to find a balance, especially like you said, having the twins. Luckily my family has stepped in and helped out tremendously, because the biggest thing is just keeping them in a stable environment. I've definitely decided to limit how much I play year round, because usually once the WNBA season is over, we go season play. And so now I think at this point, it's time to take a step away from the overseas side of things to spend more time with the girls and find that balance between working and family.
Are they identical or fraternal, Candice?
They're fraternal. They look absolutely nothing alike, completely different personalities. One looks just like me. The other one looks like me as a baby. So they're fun just to see how they're developing and see how different they are.
And Candice, through all of your experiences, I'm sure you've conquered many feats on and off the court. Have you ever felt fearful or uncertain of any challenges you faced? And how did you ever push past any fear you may have felt to even feel your own strength and power?
I've absolutely felt fearful. I want to say, this summer has probably been the biggest challenge for me from a leadership standpoint. Just not being able to escape it's like basketball 24/7 here in the bubble, and trying to find a way to help this team win while also maintaining a high level of play for myself personally. And then finding some sort of outlet to decompress and get away from the basketball side of things. So I think this summer for sure has been extremely challenging from a mental standpoint. Just trying to figure out how to balance all of it.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit earlier with some of the Fever staff, just talking about what hotel life is like, especially the tension that could potentially arise when you're walking down the hallway with a team that you just beat or lost to. Have you had any of those experiences in the bubble so far, and how do you deal with it?
I haven't. Everybody's been pretty cool for the most part. I know for myself, I'm not the most outgoing when it comes to other players in the WNBA. So it's kind of like a what's up, and I just keep it moving. Don't really hold too much conversation with people unless they're people that I've played with in the past. But I haven't had any issues with anybody. I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're all in this together, just trying to figure out a way to get through it and help each other out as much as we can.
Okay, awesome. I want to get some insight from Tiffany Mitchell. I know you set the Fever free throw record in 2017 with 43 straight, so I'm not sure too many guys would want to challenge you on the court now or even growing up. But just based on your experiences, I want to know, like, how have men embraced or maybe not embraced opportunities to compete alongside you or against you?
I mean, growing up, I was always around guys. I first started playing on an all-boys team. So just the aspect of kind of competing, not necessarily against women, but men too. It started at an early age for me. So I think growing up is always that back and forth and that challenge of, you know, what men can do, women can do as well. So, I mean, I just embraced it, honestly. Not necessarily trying to make it a thing as far as like women are better than men, but women do go through things and are a lot, like can handle a lot. I feel like a lot of men may struggle with. So, like I said, I mean, early on, I just kind of had that whole process and been able to manage it from there.
Yeah, what do you want young women to know about your journey who look up to you and want to be just like you one day?
Just to embrace the process. It's going to be a lot that you go through, a lot of adversity, especially as women, that you're going to have to experience and endure. So knowing that everything happens for a reason, not necessarily to question what's going on, just kind of deal with it and try to make the most out of your situation.
Yeah, and looking through your Instagram, you're not afraid to showcase your personality and your lifestyle off the court, which I think is awesome. But I think a question I have is, as a Black woman and pro athlete, just especially with everything going on, how often do you discuss the struggles and sacrifices made by those who have come before you, and how do you use their experiences as motivation for you now?
I mean, anybody older than me that's been in this business or just in general been somewhere in life that I choose to be or where I want to go. I try to pick their brain as much as possible. Like, I don't even know if Candice knows, like I look up to her, of course, all the time just because of, you know, she's been in positions that I want to be in my life. She's experienced things and accomplished things that, of course, any basketball player, any Black young woman wants to experience. So I just try to, you know, pick her brain, pick anybody's brain that's in front of me that has paved the way for me, and just try to, you know, do my job and live my life the best way I can to kind of make the people in front of me proud.
And Candice, what do you think is probably the most helpful leadership tip you may have shared with Tiffany or other players and other teammates?
Oh, I don't know. That's tough. I guess, like, I don't know, like I try to, it's not necessarily sharing things to the group per se, to the team per se. Like, I may have side conversations, you know, with different players and just little tidbits, pieces of advice, you know, when it comes to playing the game and how to become a better player. But try to, I don't know, I guess the biggest thing for me is just competing at a high level, night in and night out. You know, we can't take days off, can't take plays off in order to get to the ultimate goal, which is a championship. And I think once, you know, players know how to figure that out and put it together and compete as a team, you know, that's when you're able to get goals like that done.
And I know there are probably a lot of internal goals amongst you and other teammates. I want to get to Natalie Achonwa about this. I know you've been a huge voice for the Fever, advocating for social justice and mental health as well. I've watched some of your Nat chats with your teammates before the season got started. I also know you're the Don Staley Award winner for this year, which $10,000 that was awarded through that award was given to the Madam Walker Legacy Center here in Indianapolis. I want to ask what your connection is to Madam C.J. Walker, and how do you use everything that she went through to inspire you now on and off the floor?
Well, as a Black woman, it's often seen as a double negative. We're discriminated on because we are women, and we're also discriminated on because we are Black. And with that award, I wanted to make sure that I was giving back to the community that I call home of Indianapolis. And not just to give money to give money, but I wanted it to make a direct impact and an immediate impact. So by partnering with the Madam Walker Legacy Center, we were able to come up with a grant program. So that $10,000 is actually going to be broken up to 4 grants of $2,500 that will be awarded to 4 women, Black women, that are either starting a business or have recently started a business, because it's so difficult for Black women to get capital to start these businesses. It's often that they're either denied these grants or these loans, or that they're charged at an extremely high interest rate. So by using this award that I was given, I wanted to allow these women to be able to impact their families hopefully for generations by starting these businesses that they'll be able to serve themselves and be their own bosses.
So a lot of Black women like you or anybody else, I mean, a lot has been going through your minds especially over the last several months, probably a lot of contemplating and reflection as well. And you're having to do that while managing your mental health. So how has managing your mental health during this pandemic and actually maybe even enhanced your advocacy for social justice?
I think everything ties in together. And this year, like Candice had mentioned, has been a tremendous challenge, not only to deal with the COVID, to deal with the uprise of racism and focus on the social injustice issues in this country, but being in the bubble, being in the wobble, being away from our families, and playing in a shortened season, in a heightened tension season, I think added to the plate. And it also added to my motivation and my want to bring attention to mental health once again. It's something that's been ingrained in my platform since I started playing basketball, because it's something that's near and dear to my heart. My best friend passed away when I was in college from suicide, and also from my own mental health struggles. So it's always huge importance to me to use this platform to be able to bring attention to mental health and hope to reduce the stigma, to bring awareness that everyone has their own struggles. Nobody's perfect. Everybody has these silent battles, but they shouldn't be silent. That it's okay to talk about it, it's okay to seek help, that it's important that we take care of not only physically, but take care of ourselves mentally. And this wobble has really just brought it to the forefront once again, and I'm really proud to be able to hopefully erase some of that stigma and be a face that people can know, like, hey, professional athletes go through it too. Some of the people that you deem the strongest go through it too, and it's okay to be vulnerable.
You were talking a little bit about these silent battles that people should talk about and be more open about, especially in a world of social media, when more people are able to spend more time on those platforms, whether they're working from home or just simply have more access to electronic devices that have those apps. How do you think social media can influence perhaps better women to feel more comfortable with themselves, especially in such an uncertain time?
I think if you follow the right accounts, or if you focus on the right platforms, it can do that. But I always say, like, I would hate to be a teenager, or hate to be a young person in this time and age with social media, because on the contrary, social media can be so cruel. People only put their wins on social media. People don't put their struggles. People don't put the things, their failures. And I think that's difficult for young girls and young boys to see that this perfection all the time, and that's not reality. It's not what people actually go through. So I think if you focus on following the right accounts and focus on people that are actually trying to make change and trying to make difference, then yes, it can be a great tool. But social media is also quite a facade sometimes.
And I know you're encouraging people to make a difference by encouraging them to go out and vote. For those who still might be asking why voting is important, what would you tell them?
It's your opportunity to use your voice. It's easy to think, oh, it's just one vote, it doesn't make a difference. But if you have hundreds of thousands of people with that mentality, that's hundreds and thousands of votes. And in order to not only change your elected officials, but to change the systems that are in place, you need to put the people in place with like minds, or people with like values and like goals. And I think that's important, not only in presidential elections, but in local and general elections too, because those are the people that make the changes and make the differences in your community, in what you see on a daily basis. So if you have the right to vote and you're able to vote, it's really important, because you also are voting for your children. You're also voting for people that can't vote. I personally can't even vote as a Canadian. So I always try to encourage my teammates. I'm like, there's 10 of us. Hey, you guys are voting for me. I live here. I'm a resident of the US as well. So you're voting for people that don't have the ability to either yet or can't. So it's important to use your right and to exercise your right, and to be the change that you want to see.
And I know KeyBank has been supporting not only these initiatives, but so many initiatives for women in business. And I want to get to Barb Smith. She's the director for Key for Women, which supports financial progress of women. Barb, first question is, what sparks your passion to manage all these Key for Women efforts?
So I am everything that I heard today already. If you saw me, I was shaking my head and nodding, and everything resonates with me. And the struggles that women have, whether it's professionally or personally, I'm in a lucky position here to advocate, connect, and empower women, and break down some of those barriers, especially the financial hurdles. There was a comment about access to capital and the challenges, and you know what? That's absolutely true. It's especially true for minority women, who are opening up about 890 net new businesses every day. Women of color are opening up new businesses, yet are struggling with that financing. And that's what we're here for. We're here to get rid of the racism, to get rid of the unconscious bias, to really make sure that everyone has a fair shot at financial success.
Well, obviously, I think one of the biggest financial differences, whether it's amongst minorities, but especially gender, I mean, if you look at the annual salary gap between the Wnba and NBA, you got to compare $71,000 to $830,000. So, Barb, do you find that the gender pay gap to be as prevalent even outside of pro sports?
Absolutely. It is prevalent everywhere. There's some great companies like KeyBank who've done a great job in closing that pay gap. But the last statistics that I heard, and this is overall for the population, we have about 112 years ahead of us to reach parity. And I don't know about you, I need it to happen way before then.
And what do you think are some of the issues that arise as a result of unequal gender pay? And what do you think is being done or should be done moving forward?
So I think it's twofold. I think one is that women need to really advocate for themselves and not be shy about asking for that raise and asking for the pay. So I stand 100% behind all the women in sports, all the women in WNBA who are fighting that hard fight to bring equality and pay to the forefront. But in everyday lives, women also need to plan for themselves. And we have a tendency to be the caretakers. And I'm going to use a little bit of generalities, but we end up being the caretakers for our family. You heard a little bit of that in the conversation that we've already had today about how we're putting others first. We need to put ourselves first as well. It's, women, it's a fact that women outlive men, but 90% of women today are living those retired are living on Social Security alone, and we can't have that happen. So things we do today will affect our tomorrow. So, and that's what we're here for. We're here to help and to give the tools to really provide that financial security.
So knowing that there's this unequal gender pay gap, how would you encourage a woman to ask for that raise, ask for more money?
So I would say, first of all, one of the things that we also suffer from is the imposter syndrome, and we will hold ourselves back. It's very common for women not to apply for that next raise or next job opportunity until they think they checked all the boxes. whereas our male counterparts, they need about a third of those boxes checked, and they've got their hands up and they're ready to go. That's what we need to do, is really to force ourselves to that uncomfortable zone. And you know what? If the answer is no, the answer is no. But if you don't ask the question, the answer is no.
Good point. Good point. I want to bring Andrea Fonseca into this conversation. She's VP Relationship Manager for KeyBank. Andrea, that's a big role. Just for those who might not understand everything that goes into what you do, can you explain the importance of what you do in women's financial planning?
Yeah, so I've been with Key, and my role is private bank in the private bank group. So I work with our higher net worth clients, helping them find financial independence, whatever that might look like for them. And one of the things that I'm really proud of is within my role, I'm co-chair for Key for Women here in Indy. So that gives me the chance to work with a lot of women here in our market that own businesses and really try to connect them, because I think one of the things, to add to what Barb was saying, we need to not just advocate for ourselves, but learn to advocate for each other, because together we're going to have a louder voice. So that's a lot of where my time is spent, just really helping women understand what those finances look like, what it's going to take, and then just being a connector so that people know who to reach out to or where they can get some support.
You know, I think that the phrase goes that you can't be successful alone. And I think people at KeyBank understand that. Indiana Fever, obviously working as a team, understand that. But I think some of the success for, equal treatment of women is that men are simply going to have to support that concept. So how do you think, from just your position and understanding the financial states and how they differ from men and women, how and should men support women looking to enhance their financial freedom?
Well, I think one of the things is we need to make them listen to us. I think it's hard to really put yourself in someone's shoes with no experience of what they might be going through. So that's where I suggest that everybody have conversations with their loved ones, their colleagues, and just explain a little bit of hey, this is what a challenge is. It's okay to say, when you say this doesn't make me feel good, or this, it's not that I'm being overly sensitive, that is how I'm wired. And we need to, again, I think Natalie was mentioning, share what our vulnerabilities are. And that will help people understand us better and what we need better, and become like I said, our own advocates and advocate for each other.
And advocacy is going to be extremely important for this current generation and generations ahead of us. What kinds of advice would you give to a young woman who's seeking more financial freedom?
So funny you mentioned that. And you guys, we're talking about twins earlier. So I have identical twin daughters. They're 12 now, or they're 11 going on 12. And I have to round up because otherwise it's not cool. But the advice that I'm constantly giving them, and obviously they're a little bit younger, is just not to be shy, to speak up. And I think a difference that we can make in younger generations is not hold the same standards that we were held when we were raised. Little comments like, oh, you're being bossy, things like that. We need to start raising girls to advocate for themselves, to speak up. Otherwise, they're going to fall in the same patterns that we do. We don't ask for the raise because it should come in our marriage. So for young women, I just say, dream big, ask, and find a mentor. I think that is key. There's so many great women out there that are willing to be mentors. Have somebody that you can just bounce ideas off of. I think that's huge. Okay,
awesome. Thank you for your insight, Andrea. And Barb as well. It's wonderful advice from both of you at KeyBank. I want to circle back because we have a little more time. Just was there any on this panel learn something from somebody else who spoke today, and how do you look forward to carrying that on for the rest of your day, or in the days ahead?
I think I just want to echo something that Andrea just touched on, but about sharing your own stories and sharing your challenges, that's how people are able to empathize with you, as they can see the difficulties that you go through, they can see the pain that you can go through, and they can also see your successes. We talk about this in sport all the time, the importance of sharing stories and how multifaceted the women of the WNBA are. People just see basketball players, but like Candice was touching on, we have mothers, we have business owners, we have people that are successful in many avenues of life. And I think that storytelling is important. Opportunities like this on a women's panel are important, to see successful, to see strong, to see powerful women, and how they stand tall in who they are.
Awesome. Anybody else with anything?
I think I would like to echo something that Andrea said as well, is when it comes to how we raise the next generation, and what you said about the whole bossy thing. One of my girls is definitely very, very bossy, but because of what you said, like, it's not necessarily a bad thing for her to be a boss. So now I'll be a lot more mindful when I'm like, Demi, stop being so bossy. I mean, like, obviously we got to put limits on her and reel her back in when it comes to how she interacts with her sister or maybe other kids and stuff. But I think it's good, like, raise this next generation of women to know that, you know, they can be a boss.
Candice, do you think there would be, it's interesting, I think some women have refrained themselves from even using the term bossy, but you're using it in a more encouraging and even an educational way for those who might not fully understand that bossy could, what kinds of interpretations it might have for women. So how, if you describe your daughter as bossy, or another woman who's looking to be successful as bossy, how does that have a positive connotation when you're describing a fellow woman?
I mean, I think that's just overall being a badass, you know, showing that you can be independent, that you can be strong, you can have strong will, your own mind, you make your own decisions. And that's exactly how my little one is. Like, she's extremely independent. She doesn't let you help her with anything. She picks out her own clothes, and she's only 3. She knows how to match them. Like, she knows what she wants. She knows if she wants a ponytail or pigtail every day. Like, so I'm just like, let her be her. Like, sometimes I actually have a twin sister as well, but fraternal. You know, she gets upset because, like, she is so strong-willed and strong-minded, but I'm like, let her be great. Like, let her do it. She knows what she wants at the age of 3.
We got some twin power on here today. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody else would like to add anything to this discussion? I think it's been extremely insightful. And I've just appreciated the opportunity to learn your perspectives and ideas. But is there anybody who would like to close with some final thoughts?
I would love to just double down on the comments around voting. So a few years ago, I ran for a local office, and I won. I beat a 10-year incumbent, and I beat them with 7 votes. And that's really about 5 votes if you don't count mine and my husband's votes. So I will tell you, every single vote counts. And, you know, as we think about women's suffrage and the fact that we're celebrating 100 years of that right to vote, it's our duty. It's not only just a privilege, but it is our duty to make sure that we show up and make our voices heard.
I feel like this has been an outstanding conversation, and I know I'm virtually meeting you, virtually all of you for the first time. I don't think I've been to an in-person practice or media availability outside when Marianne Stanley was being named the head coach. So, you know, obviously we watch the Fever games from back here in the station, and you know, hoping things get going for the Fever here, as I know your regular season concludes mid-September. So I just want to say thank you all for being here, and for allowing me to be the moderator for this conversation. I sat at home last night making a list of questions based on some books I've read, that I was like, you know, what can I learn or other people learn from all of your perspectives and experiences? And I certainly hope anybody tuning in will be able to take away some things from this and feel more empowered. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.